9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. I'm glad to be here with you. I'm thankful that you're here with us on this Monday, November the 17th, 2025, here in Greater Sudbury, coming at you live from CKLU 96.7 FM on traditional, conventional radio. And we're also joining you live at cklu.ca. We are broadcasting across the world on the internet. You just download the Radio Player Canada app from cklu.ca and you can stream us if you download it. You can take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. We're also streaming at facebook.com/cybernews, youtube.com/cybernews. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow the channel, the page, and mainly comment. We'll do our best to get your comments up on the screen for those watching, read for those listening. And then the show will be found immediately on demand on those two platforms, along with x.com/Sudbury and Sudbury.news, which is our local news aggregator. It takes all the latest local news and puts it on one webpage. It's all in answer to our federal government's policies, which prohibits news from being shared, posted, or shared on the world's largest social media platform, which is Facebook, and also Instagram, which is owned by the same company, Meta. And it's the only country in the world that actually happens in. As we talk about the way that our political climate is shifting in Canada from a more open, democratic, capitalistic, governing style to a more dictator, communistic one. And many people might be listening to this for the first time and say, what are you talking about? That's not what CBC tells me, or CTV. Well, they're not going to tell you that, because part of this particular style or way of governing is to use the media as their, propaganda machine. And that's exactly what's going on. When you listen to CBC, the spin is unbelievable. These are just political activists masquerading as journalists, and you can tell which side of the political spectrum they are on. And it's not hard to believe that, because they're being paid by our federal government billions of dollars, right? And so that's a conflict of interest when you're paying the media. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. And so, yeah, we're going into a more communistic style of government. Our new prime minister, the installed prime minister, who is King Carney, Carnage Carney, Carbon Tax Carney, whatever you want to call him, he's definitely been installed, and through nefarious ways. But that's the way things go in the world these days. The whole world is going through a more communistic model, and borders are starting to be less relevant, and we're starting to form our one world government, which will be, the UN is already there, the WHO is already there. We already have our governing bodies in place to transition our world into a one world communistic style government. And all the tools are there. Everything's ready to go. You just have to, there's just a switch that needs to be turned on, and it's all ready to go. Canada's financial system has been decimated and will continue to be so. And that brings us to one of the things that'll be going on today, and that's the vote on the budget. The budget that puts Canada millions and millions of dollars more in deficit, this particular budget, and then billions, if not, over $1 trillion in debt overall, a debt in which we will not be able to get ourselves out of. And that's all part of this, this model, this plan. It's been planned for many years. And a country that can't stand on its own has to be beggars for whatever system is going to be there to keep it going. And so if we don't have the resources or the wherewithal to stand on our own as a country, we're just going to welcome whatever system is in place that's going to allow us to continue to eat. Because eating is actually a necessity in most cases, right? Like eating and needing a place to live in, that's a necessity. Needing clothes, things like that. But if you're a bankrupt country, it's kind of hard to get those necessities. And so you welcome whatever is going to provide you with these things. And you don't care if it's communist, if it's fascist, if it's whatever-ist. You really don't care. You just want to eat, and you want your family to eat. And that's all part of it. And the powers that be know this more than anything. And the world is cyclical. Things move in cycles. We've had it too good for too long, according to some people. And so now the tables have to turn, and we're back to what history normally does. And that's the haves, the have-nots. We're going into a time of that. And so with all of that rant, I will say, let's just get on with the show. Let's start off with a little bit of weather, local weather, and then we'll be back with news headlines and comments and all that right after. So we'll see you in a few seconds. And as usual, Sudbury Weather is brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. Currently it is -5 degrees Celsius. It's cloudy. Today we can expect cloudiness with a 30% chance of flurries. The wind will be coming out of the northwest at 20 kilometers an hour and gusting up to 40 kilometers per hour. High of -2 today. The wind chill will be near -11. Tonight, mainly cloudy. Wind still coming from the northwest, 20 kilometers per hour. The low will be -6 overnight, and the wind chill will be the same, -11. And then tomorrow, a mix of sun and cloud, becoming sunny late in the morning. The high of -1, wind chill -12 in the morning, and then -3 in the afternoon. So it's getting to be a lot cooler out there. I see some ice on the water here and there. Bitter cold over the weekend, just that chilling winter, freezing cold wind. So we're coming into it, but luckily we haven't had a blast of snow yet. Let's be hopeful that will be staved off for a little while. But that's just me. All the snowmobilers out there would want the opposite. That is your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with news headlines, comments, and more right after this. Yeah, so welcome back. We have a few people joining us this morning. And with that, we have Northern Hillbilly. Good morning, people. And Nana, hello. Blessings, everyone. Sorry, I missed you on Saturday. That's no problem whatsoever. We were kind of not in a rush, but just the way that everything worked, loading the van, and then the CAA people came really quick and brought the van. So we're like, oh, we got to get going. Other than that, I was planning on checking in and saying hello. So we will get together sooner than later. And Monique, good morning. Sudbury. Looks like you got the smiley face emoji there. Much appreciated. And Larry, good morning, my fellow Canadians. Good morning to you as well. Hazel, good morning. Prayer emoji. Much needed, much appreciated. especially these days, Hazel. Good morning to you. And Judy, good morning as well. All you guys on Facebook, good morning, Denise. Canadians have Muslim values, as 15 Muslims have taken 15 MP offices, slowly taking our town halls one by one, and wonder why for years I've been telling people to occupy their town halls, right? Where you live. That's something, again, I know you bring up time and time again, and that's the Muslim influence over politics. Not only, in the areas which they've largely been for years, but all over the world, including Canada. And it's true. It's something that people should look into as our world is in transition. If you haven't saw anything lately that kind of shows you that things are changing, just like Bob Dylan saying not too long ago, times they are a-changin'. They are changing, and they're going to be changing even more drastic. This is just the beginning. We're seeing the beginning of change. We're hearing different things. We're seeing different things. But the actual changes that are going to affect all of our lives are just around the corner. And that's a fact. Now, it's not going to be comfortable for most of us, unless you're one of the 1% of the 1% in terms of income, and you're of an elite group of people that will be able to just sail on through and maybe even get rich off the transition. Very few people are in that category. You will feel the transition. You'll know it's a different world we live in, and we'll have a choice to make whether or not that's the one we want, or do we want something better? And I'm sorry I'm being so cryptic and whatever, but in coming days, I will get a little more clear on those things. And we do clarify a lot of these things on the show, that things are changing, and look at the things that aren't really talked about on mainstream media, yada, yada. But let's just get on with some other people that are joining us. Some comments here. Larry says, looks like the score is 1. There you go. Score is 1-2. Rubber match tomorrow. So yeah, we'll see how the budget goes today. And the voting, it's going to be extremely close, right? So what will be the follow? Are we going to have an election? We just had an election, 6 months ago? 8 months ago. And now there could be another election just in time for Christmas, which is not the coolest, right? Like, even though I'd love to I'm not a fan of this government. I don't know about you. I'm not. We talk about the reasons why every morning here. They're very apparent. But the idea of an election right at Christmas time too, it's just, life is so crazy. But it is what it is. We'll have to take whatever happens today. And Belinda, good morning to you. Your light may not reach everyone, but it will reach those who are seeking it. Keep shining. Triple heart emoji. Thank you very much for that, Belinda. Very positive and very true. Always be yourself. Always be your best self. And even if you think it's not doing much, it is. It's reaching those who it needs to. Larry, I said this last year. They took up all the security guard jobs. Now they're going to take our positions in the army, and then they're going to take over the police stations, and then we're all, you know what. Okay, now you're talking about newcomers to Canada, as far as I know there. We were talking about the possible influence of the Muslim ideology coming into Canada coming into the world, and you see that quite a bit. And it's something worth looking into. A lot of people don't know what that even means. Like, what does the Muslim faith believe? And there's different factions too. It's not just one, right? They have their scriptures, and then they have their common beliefs, and then they have breakoffs. They have extreme versions and things like that. But then there's a large political movement that's sweeping the world and influencing governments around the world. And it comes with the mass immigration that a lot of the people that are going into these new countries, including our own, have that particular belief in the system, and they are getting in positions of influence and influencing our decision makers, and it's unprecedented. So we'll see what happens with that. Good, bad, or ugly, right? So Belinda says, I hear Carney is not a Grey Cub fan. Probably a Grey Cup fan. He's going to need ointment for that burn he received. So awesome that they balked him so badly. Mocked him, I'm thinking. Mocked him so badly. He left the game. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Oh, booed him. Sorry, booed him. My bad. So he got booed. I did not realize this. So that seems to be a theme with Mark Carney. I know he left the House of Commons whenever the debate gets heated and he can't seem to debate anymore. He just leaves. So I guess he left the Grey Cup game as well because he was booed. I wonder how the mainstream media covered that one. We'll have to go back and see. Them towers, the frequencies, you're talking about the FIVEG towers. They're giving out, once the towers were in place, they started putting us through little tests, and they've been watching us and gathering data on us. As long as the towers stand, the people will not fight back. The frequencies won't let them. I pray they take them down one day and we could dismantle their robotic AI system. Well, again, this is going to be an unprecedented time. I don't think the people are united enough in knowledge, first of all, and the understanding of what is actually going on around us. I think we're going to get a huge wake-up call. And they will come down at one point. And people will prevail. The good in people will prevail. The way we do is probably not the way that everybody's thinking that we're going to prevail at the moment. And but good will always overcome evil. How about we just say that? Good will always triumph over evil. So if you're evil and you're thinking, yeah, I really like this evil thing, it's working out pretty good for me, just know that it's not going to last very long, and it's only going to be a short period, and you'll have to count for every evil thing you've ever done. So you'll have to pay back all the money you ripped off, everybody you crossed in the way to getting as evil as you can and worked your way up a ladder to be in whatever position you're in, whatever evil thing you've ever done. You'll have to account for that. You'll have to make up for it. You will be sentenced for what you've done, and you'll have to live out the ruling and face the consequences of your actions. It just is what it is. So if you haven't heard that before, I'm glad to at least make that apparent to you. So good will always prevail over evil, and even though evil looks like Goliath to David, right? Evil looks like it's unsurmountable, and we will share some of these evil things on the show because we need to see them to know that they're happening to us, to wake up to what's going on, so we can wake up and then maybe do something. It might even cause us to question ourselves and be a little better and do a little more, right? And that's the only reason we look at these negative things that are going on in the world day after day, locally, regionally, provincially, nationally, and internationally. There's a lot of, well, actually, there's not a lot. There's a small group of people that are in positions that they have everything to gain by being evil. Let's put it that way. By being and doing evil things, being evil, they get rewarded in this world. And there's this club of them. And then they try to use that influence to, make the world. It's like a cancer going around trying to rule everything. Eventually it just dies off because it's cancer. That's what evil is. It's like a cancer. So if you think you're getting away with stuff, you're not going to do that for very long, including all the measures that are being taken as of late, which we will get into in a few minutes after a few local stories here. Marianne, good morning to you. And good morning. You're checking in from Barrie, liking and sharing as usual. Good morning to you, Marianne. And Vin's on. Good morning to you. Larry's got all the smiley emojis. And good morning, Northern Hillbilly. It's the Great Reset against the Great Awakening. Remember them when there's nothing to lose. Yeah, there's good versus bad. It's coming. We're getting in the ring. And but the fight isn't physical. It's not like, those who take up the sword will die by the sword, right? So there's a different strategy. It's going to have to be used here. Denise, okay, replying to Larry. Monique, I don't buy the motto, we had it too good for too long. No. I'm just saying that's the way they look at it. That's the way they look at it. There's people out there that are so sociopathic, psychopathic, that are in certain positions. They're elite, and they're the ones who feel the world's too overpopulated. Royalty has been found to say that we're just useless eaters, right? People are just useless eaters. There's just animosity between the so elite people in the world and common everyday people. They loathe you. They look at you like a virus. You don't understand how much they think you are just less than animals, right? You don't understand that, but you get into their minds and you realize pure evil. Okay? Pure evil. And they have the money, they have the power, they're in, they're holding all the cards, worldly cards, and in this physical world. It's also spiritual, but they use the physical world to make you scared, take away your food, take away your money, going to scare you into doing whatever they want you to do. And they're a whole other class of people. And they don't like you, and they've built all these systems and whatever to dumb you down. They don't like you being smart. They don't like you questioning them. Dumb you down through your education. Medical system, make you sick. They don't like you healthy. They make you sick. They don't like you being clear of mind. They don't like you praying to God because they know God is higher than they are, and it's going to help you rise above them, because they can only get so high because they're fighting against God. So if you go to God, you're automatically above them. So they want to do everything they possibly can to keep you away from doing that. And the list goes on, right? But eventually they're a cancerous whatever. They're like a leech on mankind, sucking all the resources for just themselves. And that's not sustainable. Let's use one of their words, right? That's not sustainable for the earth or for mankind. And eventually, very soon actually, it comes to an end. But not before they pound their chest and they use everything in their arsenal to show how important they are to everybody and make you as scared as you possibly can be. They're ready for that. That's what they're gearing up for that. And Maurice, good morning to you. Yes. And let's head on with some local stories here. If there's some new people joining us, like Shirley, I'm going to say good morning to you. And if I miss some of you guys as we're moving on with our local stories. I apologize. I'm not doing it on purpose. You have to believe me. I'm not doing that on purpose. I want to acknowledge everybody on the show. This is your show on your station, CKLU 96.7 FM. That's why I read a lot of comments in the morning. I want to get as much in from people and what's going on with you guys and what you're thinking. And it's only a one-man show, so while the show then continues on, it's impossible for me to cover the news and get everyone's comments other than seeing somebody new on here and just giving them a morning shout out. All right, so Sudbury News, Sudbury.news, this kind of caught my eye. Some sports news. The Wolves, yes, we have hockey. It's been going on for, I think, a quarter of the season's already behind us or more. The Wolves stage a late game comeback to snap a 7-game losing streak. The Wolves win! ! Sudbury gets first victory in 8 games with a 2-1 win over Saginaw. And good morning, Leonard. Thanks for being on, and thanks for the emojis. And Jerome as well. Good morning to you. The Wolves won. It's exciting. I think they've only won 3 games so far this year. I could be wrong. It could be 4, but it's 3 or 4 games. In this game, it was 0-0 for the longest time, and then Saginaw scored 1-0, and the Wolves came back and tied her up. And then with, I think, 30 seconds left in the game, we got the game winner. It was a nail-biter. It was an amazing victory. Felt like probably they won the OHL championship because they haven't won it. As a team, that's the way you feel when you've been losing so long. You're able to come back. I remember I had a hockey team. It was sponsored by the restaurant that I owned at the time. And we weren't a good team. We were good guys. Everything in the dressing room, we were all friends. It was really great to get together, once a week. But in the league, we were not good. So we'd lose most games. If I can't remember winning one, but we must have won at least 1 or 2. But at the end of every game, and good morning, Liette from Collingwood. Thanks for being on. Hope you're doing well these days. So I remember at the end of every game, the joke was, and someone had to say it at some point. It was one of these ones that it was the joke that kept on giving and giving. Someone would say, "You can't win them all." And we'd all laugh. It just never got old. We just lost every game. But the Wolves at least are winning a few, and they had a comeback victory. Now they've snapped their 7-game losing streak, so hopefully that's a sign of things to come, that they can start to put some W's up on the board, so to speak. Okay, some local stories here. I don't know. These stories. I could do a whole show on these headlines. Talk about our media, the propaganda, that's out there. Watch this headline: medical misinformation can be a cause of death, says doctor. Which you got to agree on the surface, because medical misinformation could be causes of death. And good morning, Miles. Thanks for being on. Winnipeg. Very cold. That's where the Grey Cup game was last night. He left early in his state-paid plane. Hopefully it was an electric plane with not spewing all that carbon everywhere. But I guess it's not so bad now that Bill Gates says it's not that important anymore, carbon. I guess he should talk to Carney at some point, Bill Gates that is, and let him know it's actually not that important. It's not the end all that we thought it was all these years. And if you don't believe me, you just go Googling what Bill Gates has just said recently about carbon. He said he was wrong the whole time. He said, actually, it's not all that bad. 30 years ago when Al Gore said, the polar ice caps are going to melt in 10 years. I guess they realized they didn't melt. And it's not as bad as they said. And mankind can continue to live even though the world will get 0.0001% warmer or whatever it is. Now, I'm not saying actual information here. I'm being sarcastic. I'm just using a number. But it's not going to get so warm that people won't be able to live and flourish on the earth, is the point I'm trying to say. So here's the headline. Medical misinformation can be a cause of death, says doctor. Now he's got an experience that he's going to be talking about. Physician recalls trying to save the life of an unvaccinated COVID patient who was coughing up copious amounts of infected BLOOD. I do that because my daughter, when she hears the word, she gets squeamish, and maybe there's some other people out there who are the same. Moments before the patient died. So if you want to read more about that, you can go to Sudbury.com and they'll tell you all about it. And I'm a little bit skeptical reading this headline, knowing what I know about real medical information and what happened, what we just went through the last 5 years. And anyways, I guess they're still pushing out these, I guess we'll call them hit pieces on a certain faction of the population, which, by the way, there's a lot of data out there now. If you actually want to look at data, if you actually can take the time to look at the data, the unvaccinated versus the vaccinated, do you see all the unvaccinated dropping like flies, like they said that was going to happen? Do you see that? Have you seen that? Have you seen that? That's what they told you. Okay? The very people that are saying there's misinformation out there that causing people to die. I think that was a bit of misinformation, if I'm not mistaken, because I know lots of people, they're very healthy, and they did not take that medical experimental formula into their body, not knowing what was in it, by the way, just being told it was safe and effective. Here's the next headline from the same Sudbury.com. There's a video. Is Ontario allowing too many students to opt out of the measles vaccine? We're just questioning that. Like, is there? Is there too many students opting out of the measles vaccine? Is Ontario allowing too many? I'm just a question. Of all the questions you can ask, that's the question they're asking. You know what I'm saying? You can say, is there too many elite people in the world trying to bankrupt the world? No, they don't ask that question. Is immigration a little bit too high for our economy to handle? No, they don't ask that question. But the question they do ask is Ontario allowing too many students to opt out of the measles vaccine? They ask that question. That's an interesting question. But they got a whole video on it. And they say in our province, students can receive vaccine exemptions for medical reasons or for religious or philosophical beliefs. But as measles cases continue to climb, is it time to re-examine the rules? That's right. Is it time to re-examine the rules? What are the rules? The rules are you have a choice. You can choose to take it or not. But should we be re-examining those rules of choice? Should we have the choice? Well, what's the alternative to choice? They're asking, really. That's what the question is. The rules are right now is we have a choice. Okay, now we got one quick dub on here. I believe that's the handle. And you wanted to talk about the Jewish influence in the world as well. And I'm not solely concerned with the Muslim influence. No, there's many influences. I'm just saying that Denise, when she's on, a lot of times talks about, and good morning to you, by the way. Denise oftentimes points out, and it's true. And I think more people talk about the Jewish influence in our world than the Muslim one. I really do feel that. But there is a huge influence, obviously, from that camp along with the Muslim one. There's influence come from everyone. There's even a Christian one. There's all these, all these belief systems and people that are religions and political activists. There's all these people who believe strongly in their beliefs that are in positions of influence and are trying to influence the greater masses kind of thing through politics, through education, through whatever means they can. But yeah, you are right. There is that as well. There's no doubt about it. And they are a very strong group. And good morning to you, Logic. Thanks for being on. So back to the headline here. Is Ontario allowing too many students to opt out of the measles vaccine? That's a question that Sudbury.com is very concerned about. Right? They're not concerned about too many other questions. This is the main question. One of the main questions they're concerned about. And good morning, Mikey. Thanks for being on. And happy Monday to you as well. So is it time to re-examine the rules? Is it time to start forcing people to take vaccines against their will? That's what they're saying. That's what that should just turn into. Forcing people. Like we saw in the last 5 years with a different, they call it a vaccine. It's not really technically a vaccine because it didn't go through all the clinical trials, but forcing us to take a jab, telling us it's for our greater good, and it was safe and effective, right? Good morning, Andrew. Thanks for being on. I'll never forget talking to a friend of mine, and he was like adamant, yes, it's safe, it's effective, we need it. Or, I remember they were saying it's gonna save you from getting it, the COVID. It's gonna save you. You won't get it if you get the vaccine, that they called it. And so then everyone started taking it, and they said, oh, wait, there's not going to be one vaccine. You got to take it twice. It's going to be two of them together. Somehow the two do something. They didn't explain how it works, but you need two of them somehow. Okay, why would I need two? Why don't you just put the two in one and give me one? No one asks these questions in the mainstream anyways. Oh, wait, you need two. Okay, everyone's like, yeah, you need two, or you're not gonna get it. Well, then it was like people are still getting it after they got the two. Oh, well, what do we say now? Oh, yeah, we know. It'll keep you out of the hospital if you take two. That's what it's going to do. It's going to keep you out of the hospital. At least it'll lessen the effects of it. Meanwhile, in life, in the real world, you get it, you build up an immune to it, just like anything, and then you overcome it, and now you have natural immunity. So that's the way God made our bodies, and that's the way it worked if you didn't take it. And now you have all these healthy people out there who didn't take it, and all of the people beating the drum of, oh, fear, you're going to die, fear, take it. And then they come back and say, we didn't force anyone to take it, the governments. We didn't tell you can't fly on a plane or take a train or keep your job if you didn't take. We never said that. Meanwhile, they did, and you know it. We all know it. We all lived through it. Many people did lose their jobs. Many people took it because they were afraid they were going to lose their jobs, right? Most people listening to this right now who took it, you didn't take it because you're like, oh, I can't wait to take this. And if you did, well, I'm sure some people did. And who did they give the vaccine to first? Our indigenous population. So all you indigenous people out there, you should be questioning that. Ask yourself, why did they put us front and center? Why did they think of us first for the first time ever in the history of thinking of us? Oh, the vaccine? Oh, how about the indigenous people? Let's give it to them first. Make sure they all get it. Yeah, it's good to question things. Just like Sudbury.com is questioning things, right? They're questioning, why don't we force everyone to get pharmaceutical drugs to people? Why don't we? Yeah, why don't we just turn into a police state and just force people to do whatever we want? Why not? Why don't we just do that? Let's just question it at least. Subtle media spin, so easy to catch. Okay, so you got in other news. I've always wanted to say that. In other news, Transgender Day of Remembrance set for November 20th. Right? Transgender Day of Remembrance set for November 20th. So this is also from Sudbury.com. Just happens Sudbury.com's got a lot of great headlines today. And the annual event honors those whose lives were lost to anti-transgender violence over the past year. A quote from, I guess, the organizers of this: "We remember those that have lost not as statistics. We remember those we have lost not as statistics, but as people with dreams, families, and futures. Now, anyone who's lost for any reason at any time needs to be at least acknowledged and understood, and people need to have empathy for anyone who loses their lives for any reason," right? Now, I'm going to have a question with this. I'm going to say, why November 20th? Okay. We already have Remembrance Day on what day? November 11th. November 11th. We could have picked any month, any date to have this. Like, what's the significance of November remembering transgender people who've lost their lives? We're already remembering everyone, including transgender people. There must have been transgender people fighting in World War II, World War I. Who knows, right? They would have been closet, possibly at that time, because it was definitely not accepted. Although maybe a few places in the world, right? But yeah, we celebrated everyone who gave their lives. Why would we now have to celebrate, or not celebrate, but remember transgender people in the same month? Like, why do we do, like, why would, if I was an organizer of this, why would I say, yeah, November, we should do that? In my mind, it would be like, why won't we let, because it's such an important thing, those who gave their lives so I can be transgender, freedom to do it, and just keep it there and celebrate the masses of people that gave their lives so that we can have freedom. We can actually be free to be transgender. So we're going to acknowledge their fighting for us and giving their lives, as we talked about at length on our Remembrance Day show. To me, I would say, if I was in that group of people, if I was transgender, I'd say, you know what? Let's honor those. Let's pick a different month. Let's pick a different month for our remembering our people that have been persecuted and lost their lives for their beliefs. Because I come from a group of people who were persecuted and lost their lives for their beliefs. Right? We don't have a month for them, for us. We don't have a day. No one even knows about it, right? We acknowledge it ourselves. We come to terms with it. We put it in perspective and we move on. We don't force other people to acknowledge it. It's our grief. It's our problem that we went through at a certain point in history. And it more than likely will come around again as history repeats itself for the same reasons. But again, I just want to point that out. That's interesting that you would pick November the 20th, 9 days after Remembrance Day, and what Remembrance Day actually symbolizes. So it's just a bit of critique from me. Is that okay? Am I allowed to have that point of view? I would hope so. I would hope that my grandfathers, who both fought in the war and were both mortally wounded, however, both miraculously survived, both being shot in the stomach and in the head, both being left for dead. It's an interesting story. I think I shared it on the show at one time. Both my grandfathers. It's almost like they went through the exact same experience. But they fought that we can be free. And I think it's what's the word? It's not right, I don't think, to take away from remembering them. And yeah, pick a different month. All right, all that to say that. Okay. Thanks everyone for watching today. That's all the time we have. I know I was going to get to some more larger stories and some videos, but I guess we didn't have, well, because I'm very talkative today for some reason. We had covered a couple local stories, unpacked some of the verbiage and brought it into perspective about what it's doing with our society. Hopefully we had a good conversation about that. We'll be back same time, same place on the same platforms, God willing, tomorrow. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. There's so many comments here. I'm trying to get them all up on the screen. I thought I did a good job as we were having our conversation here to get them up, but it might be the first time we're not able to get all the comments up before the show's end. But anyways, I got to sign off at this time. Have a wonderful beginning to your work week this Monday, November the 17th, 2025. And remember to stay aware, like, share, take care, and we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Ciao for now.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Featuring the latest songs from artists in Canada and from around the world. Hosted by DJs from coast to coast to